right, it's the day before school starts. The kids are coming tomorrow. You've got this empty classroom. What do you need, and what do you do, and where do you start? First thing, organize your space. How do you want your chairs set up? How many children are going to be in your space? Do you want chairs? Do you have chairs? Do you have space for chairs? You need to figure all of that out so that as soon as the children walk in, you have a place for them to be. And sometimes that may change from day to day, depending on your lesson plan, but there should be a space already ready for them and organized. And you should have an idea in your mind of if you have a specific place that you want them to sit, or if you're going to let them sit wherever they want. Sometimes when children are too crowded together, that can cause problems. So if you need them spread out, you make that very clear as soon as they're walking in the door, and you greet them, and you can give them instructions softly as they come in. There are a few occasions where I have to use another teacher's classroom as my space, or I'm teaching on a cart. When I am ready to go into another classroom, I have to have everything ready. So I'll have my file folder of lesson plans for whichever grade level I'm teaching. I have all the CDs or my electronic device, whatever I'm going to use for the sound system, and the instruments. I'll have all of that on the cart. And even when I'm in another teacher's classroom, I still have a seating chart for that class. It'll be organized according to however their desks and chairs are set up. But I don't want to go in and completely change and modify and wreck their room. Plus it takes too much teaching time. So I usually work within whatever space they have. At my school, we're fortunate because we have kind of an open space not too far from where my classroom and most of the classrooms I teach in are. And so if I want to do an activity where we're doing a round dance or a singing game where there's lots of movement, I can count and say, go to that room in 10, 9, 8, and they can get themselves and organize themselves really quickly there. If you don't have that space, you can find a hallway at the end of a corridor somewhere where maybe you can do a singing game that isn't going to disrupt people. I also like to go outside when the weather's nice. It's always fun to do that. Make sure your transitions are really fast and really quick, and you give the children a specific countdown to be ready by, and you're very specific about what ready means. If I say, go to that room and be ready for a singing game, I tell them, go to the room and be in a circle, or go to the room and sit on the steps. Go outside and sit on that square of lawn, and you have 30, 29, 28. I know I'm a countdown, but they'll start counting with me, and they're always ready in time. Next is supplies. What supplies should you have? If you don't have anything, where can you start? These are my start to go items. These are rhythm sticks. They come in lots of different shapes and sizes. You can look online. These are actually called Lummi sticks, but I use them as rhythm sticks. They're pretty indestructible. They're not painted, so they're not going to chip. And they make a pretty nice sound. I use these. They're really inexpensive. And I have these buckets. I got these from Utah State. It's Aggie ice cream buckets. I had to take them home and wash them out, take off the labels, but I think they were 12 cents a piece. And I love them because they stack, so I can put a lot of them in a room. They're really lightweight, so I can carry them around and have kids carry stacks of them around. And they actually make a good sound too. All right, let's talk about instruments, because every kid wants their hands on those instruments that you have in your room. If you don't have any, you're going to get sticks and buckets, so you'll have some. If you don't have instruments, guess what you do have? You have hands, you have feet, you have fingers, you have chairs and tables. You can find things in the room that you can use as instruments. Okay, as a music teacher, you are using your voice all day long because you're modeling singing, you're having them match pitch to your voice, and you're giving instructions. So your voice is going all day long, and vocal care is really important for music teachers, especially elementary music teachers where your voice is your primary instrument. So my number one tip for that is get a microphone, have your principal get you a microphone, have your PTA buy you a microphone, but get a microphone so you can talk in your normal or softer than normal voice without any strain and still be able to be clearly heard by your students. The next thing I use is a seating chart. If you look at this seating chart, I've had this organized before the children come in. But I usually, the first day, have the kids come in and sit wherever they want. And right away after that first day, you'll be able to see the kids that should and should not sit together. And then I assign them a seat. And this seating chart is based on the way that my room is set up. I have chairs in rows because that's what works in my room. But I have all their names written down, and I also use this as my assessment. So if you look at number 1, I have written match pitch and then the key. If there's an X by their name under the first little square, that means they couldn't match my pitch on one note. If there's a check mark, it means they could match it with help, and if there's nothing there, it means they were able to do it just fine, because that saves me from going and marking every little square. If they did it just fine, then I just have it blank. That's an instant assessment. It takes me just a second to be able to do that. Now, I may not be able to do that for every child in every class, but over time, I can say I've gone through and listened to every child and to see if they could match pitch. And then the next time they come in, I might try going through 5, 6, 7, 8 more kids, and I'll mark down if they could do it. And over time, I always can see that there's improvement. If there's not, that means that's something I need to work on. Okay, the next is organization of materials. The way I organize my materials is by grade level. I have a file cabinet of lesson plans and songs and some pictures that I might use, visual aids, things like that. I have those all in a file cabinet. If you don't have a file cabinet, you can get a paper box out of your teacher workroom and start some files. And then for me, the easiest thing is I just have a file folder by grade level, because I usually teach by grade level. And whatever materials I'm using for that day, I put in that file folder. So my transition times between classes is 0. I have no time. Well, one class walks out, the other class is walking in. So before my day starts, I have to have everything ready. I have all my CDs pulled, or I have everything queued up on my iPad or iPod, either one, whichever you're using, your computer. If I have PowerPoints I'm showing, I have those queued up and ready to go. I have everything ready, so the minute the children sit down, we are instantly starting. They're not waiting for me to gather materials or to organize myself. I'm going to go on with the assumption that you've bought a few things, or you've purchased a few things, or inherited a few instruments. And it's really motivating to the kids to be able to use instruments. The way that I handle this is as they're coming in my classroom, I have the instruments, if we're going to use them during that day, I have them right by the door. And for example, my rhythm sticks are just in coffee cans. If they're by the door, the kids know they just grab a pair of sticks. And I make it very clear that as they do this, and we practice this. So first I'll have them sit down, then I'll explain. We're going to practice the way that we do this when you're coming in the door, and if you see the cans of sticks, that means you get to play sticks that day. So the way that you'll do that is you'll take 2 sticks and you hold them like this so they don't make any noise, and you put them under your chair. See if you can do it without making a sound. Everybody try that, and we'll line up out in the hall and we'll try going back in and doing that again. Now sometimes I'll do an activity where maybe one group will have triangles, somebody else will have wood blocks, somebody else might have shakers, somebody else might have drums. The way that I do that is as they're coming in, maybe I had to do this at 7 in the morning before I came to school. I'll have all those already under their chairs. Maybe I have another class coming in that doesn't use those, but they know that whatever's under their chairs doesn't get touched until they have permission from me. What if you don't have chairs and you just have kids in a kiva? Sometimes what I'll do is I have them already organized. I love this seating chart because I have a really hard time memorizing 750 kids' names. But if I have them in the same place every time, then I can always call them by name, which right there is a really great classroom management tool. And if you say their name and you smile at them, they think you love them, and you probably do. Okay, music on a cart. I teach a 6th grade class on a cart, and we use a lot of instruments. Once a week I teach recorders. I know I'm really lucky I have these kids twice a week. So the first day of the week we do recorders, the second day of the week we do ukuleles. That's a lot of instruments to be going back and forth. A lot of times we'll be drumming or I'll be doing other instruments. What I've set up is during the recess period, right before I have that class, I set all of the instruments, my cart, an overhead projector, my sound system, anything I need, I set that out in the hallway. And then I have volunteers from the students who have been assigned or who volunteered to take care of the overhead projector or the sound system, get it plugged in, ready to go, distributing the recorders or getting the bins of ukuleles where I have them set aside or ready to go. And that really helps because I can't do that all by myself and it would take me 10 minutes just to haul all the stuff. But if I have kids ready to do it and they're really responsible about it, I usually find some kind of way to reward them, but most of them are just happy to do it. And that helps me. So whenever you can use student helpers for helping you, it'll make your life easier and they actually really enjoy it too. One of the things I like to do with teaching is always keep them surprised. They're never exactly sure what's going to happen. I have specific routines and expectations that are very clear, but sometimes we'll start with a vocal warm-up, sometimes we'll start with just moving. I think it's really important to start and end a piece of music with silence. So that's one of my number one expectations, is I will not turn a CD on or we will not start singing until it's absolutely quiet, people are focused and watching me, and we start and stop together. I think that's a really important part of musicianship, is starting and stopping together. And after a song is finished, it is so typical that kids want to turn to their neighbor and tell what they liked or something that was funny. And I have them just sit and feel the silence. And then when there's a quick transition where I'm changing CDs or getting the next thing out, once again, I can do a countdown or they can turn and talk, and then I'll start with a soft voice and explain the next activity. Which leads me to my next point. Keep your explanations to a bare minimum. My explanations are things like pat the steady beat as you listen. Clap the steady beat. Do what I do. Those are my explanations. I don't have to say a beat is a steady pulse and I want you to feel the beat and I want you to do, no, we're just playing, we're moving, we're experiencing it. And if you keep the pacing pretty quick, the kids are always thinking and they're always learning and they're trying to just keep up with you. Of course, I'm not going to go fast enough to leave anybody behind or get them frustrated, but my pacing is pretty quick and I give a lot of variety of activities in every lesson that I do. Some of the music skills that I like to cover in every single lesson. And when I'm saying a lesson, I'm talking about a 30-minute music block. One lesson is usually for the younger children where their songs may be just a minute long. I might do 6 or 7 or 8 songs with varying activities in each song. But somewhere in that 30 minutes, I want them to experience singing, which could be matching a pitch or doing the melodic contour exercises that we were doing. But singing means using their voice, but it's with pitch and with voice. I want them to experience singing. I want them to experience playing, which means playing an instrument. So that could be your sticks, that could be your classroom instruments, it could be Orff instruments like xylophones or glockenspiels. It could be your hands or your lap. It could be your friend's hands. It could be your chair or table. So playing just means you're playing some kind of beat and some kind of rhythm. Here's a strategy that I've used for years and it works for all age groups. I have this set of cards that I made up years ago. So it has a quarter rest, a quarter note. This one says clap, or eighth notes that say pat, or maybe eighth notes that say clap, or stomp, or pat. I have a variety of these. And this allows the children to play body percussion and make it different every time. For example, if we wanted to play this example, it would sound like this. And then I can ask Johnny or Cindy or someone and say, after I've seen the class can do that, do you want to come and make your own pattern? And they can rearrange these any way they want. Notice I didn't put eighth notes in patting and clapping and stomping I'm making it simple depending on the level of the kids. Once they can do this, then you can add another element, like another body percussion for stomping or patting, or add another rhythm. But this is a really great way to have them playing. Could they accompany a song with this? Absolutely. Or you could say, sing the chorus, and we'll do this during the verse. So that's one example of playing, and that works for any song that you want to do. Listening is so important. Listen for rhyming words. That's a really good strategy for younger children. Listen for, is the pitches high or low? Listen if the melody is rising or falling. Listen for what instrument you are hearing. Listening is a really good skill, and of course it goes along with almost anything you do in music. But listening for something specific is very different than just the general instruction to listen to this song. Give them something very specific to listen for. The next thing I like to do is creating. Here's an example of just creating body percussion, creating their own pattern using these. Creating doesn't mean you're making up something out of nothing. It means you are given some choice within some specific parameters to create something new. So you're not going to just send them out to create something, but create something here. Or if we're padding steady beat, creating would be the simple question, where else can we put the beat? We could put it in our head. What's another action we could do with this song? Give me some ideas. So creating is giving choice, but letting them come up with some options of their own or imagination. Another thing that's really important is reading and writing music. Look, this little strategy that I showed you will work for playing. It will work for creating because they can rearrange and manipulate this. And it will work for reading and writing because this is a series of icons that they're actually reading. They're reading notation as well as where to put the body percussion. This can be adapted to a lot of different age levels. For young children, maybe I will just have the very simple rhythms, quarter notes and eighth notes, and they will just clap that pattern. And then we'll say, where else can you put the rhythm? Maybe we'll stomp it with our feet. Maybe we'll pat it on our laps. Maybe we'll clap it. Maybe we'll do it with rhythm sticks. So you just start at whatever level they're at, and you can add elements as they become more and more proficient. Let's talk about planning your entire school year. Wow, that sounds a little bit daunting, but it's not. Look at your calendar in conjunction with your principal or the team members of your school. I like to meet with every grade level team before school starts, even if it's a 5-minute meeting, just to introduce myself. I usually send an email in advance and ask them for their curriculum map through the year so that I know that in February, kindergarten is going to be talking about zoo animals, and that's when I can bring out all my zoo animal songs. I know we're encouraged to integrate, but I've learned that not everything is authentic integration. If I have a 3rd grade teacher that has children struggling with times tables and they expect me to teach songs that are going to help them learn their times tables, that's not my job. My job is to teach music. I'm a music teacher. So if I have a song that I can teach authentic music skills through that, I will do that. But my job isn't to teach your content through music. But I can also say, I am here because you're teaching animals and you're teaching habitats. I have this great song about animals in the desert, and we learn animal sounds and we learn vocal play, and we have some rhythms that go with that, and we have a really cool instrument part that goes with that. So I'm teaching authentic music skills and music core, but I'm also helping reinforce some of the content about animals in the desert. So if it doesn't smoothly integrate, you can say, yeah, that one doesn't really work, but this one really will. So I want to help the teachers whenever I can, but they also have to understand you may only see those children 30 minutes a week or every other week, and you may be at 2 different schools doing 2 different things, and they have to be aware that as a certified licensed teacher trying to do a really good job, you have limitations, and teaching their entire core is beyond the scope of anybody's ability. One of the resources I use more than anything else is the USOE Songbook. USOE stands for Utah State Office of Education, and if you Google that, it'll pop up on your screen. you can click on USOE Songbook, and it'll bring up a page where you scroll down at the bottom and it'll say Music Catalog. That's where you want to click. After you click on Music Catalog, it will bring up a catalog with a list of over 100 songs. If you click on the name of the song, it'll bring up the melody and the words for the song. It will also bring up a lesson plan that includes singing, playing, creating, and listening ideas, as well as an integration suggestion for core curriculum that ties back to the classroom. It has another link on each next to each song. It'll say Play 1 and Play 2. If you click on Play 1, you will get a recording of the song with vocals. And if you click Play 2, you'll get a recording of the same song with instrument only, where instruments are taking the melody instead of vocalists. So if you wanted to use it for a performance and you wanted your own children's voices instead of Alex Boyer's awesome voice, you could do that. You have that option. The other thing that you can do with those is if you right-click on Play 1, it will say Save File As, and you can save it right to your iTunes library and have it easily accessible so you don't have to be online or have Wi-Fi to be able to access that. So you can create your own library of your most well-used and most often used tunes from that USOE songbook. Another thing that I like to use this songbook for is all folk tunes. And I have to be honest, when I first started teaching, I thought, oh, the kids don't want these old songs. They want new, update, fun songs. Well, there's a reason that these folk songs have been around for hundreds of years. They're really fun to sing, and the melodies are really captivating. And most of them are pretty simple melodies, and you can change the words if you want to, and have the children help you change the words to create some verses that may tie in back to classroom curriculum, like Simple Machines, or Phases of the Moon, or Continents. Think about that, and you can use it as a resource that way too.